Welcome to a fascinating deep dive, everybody. We're going inside, but like way inside, to explore the autonomic nervous system, or the ANS for short. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. This whole system working away in the background, keeping us alive. I'll admit, I haven't given it much thought before.
It really is amazing. Think of it like this. The ANS is the unsung hero of your body. It's managing your heartbeat, making sure you breathe, handling your digestion,
Yeah,
all without you even realizing it.
seriously. It's like having a personal assistant, but for your internal organs. So we're cracking open a college textbook today to get into the nitty-gritty of the ANS. But don't worry, this isn't some dry lecture. This stuff is relevant to everyone, trust me.
Absolutely. Once you understand how the ANS works, it's like unlocking a secret code to understanding your body's stress responses, how you recover, even how things like meditation or deep breathing actually affect you on a physical level.
Okay, so let's start with the basics then. The textbook kicks off by talking about the difference between the somatic and autonomic nervous systems. So somatic is all about you being in control, right?
Exactly. When you decide to, let's say, pick up your phone or take a step, even smiling, that's your somatic nervous system doing its thing. You're consciously choosing to make those movements.
Gotcha. But the ANS, that's where things get really interesting. This is your body on autopilot, taking care of all those essential functions that you never have to even think about.
Think of it like driving a car. With the somatic nervous system, you're the one behind the wheel, making the decisions. But with the ANS, you get to be a passenger while it expertly handles all those automatic processes, like keeping the engine running.
Okay, I like that analogy. But it's not like they're totally separate systems, right? This textbook uses the example of an Olympic skier. They're making split-second decisions while racing down a mountain, but their ANS is working overtime at the same time.
Precisely. It's a perfect example of how they work together. The skier is consciously choosing their line, but their ANS is making sure their body can handle it. Things like dilating their pupils so they can see better, adjusting their heart rate, managing their blood flow to meet those intense demands. And the skier doesn't even have to think about it.
Whoa, that's wild. And get this, the book says that some senses, like feeling temperature or seeing light, can actually trigger both systems. So if you accidentally touch a hot stove,
You immediately know it's hot because of your somatic nervous system, but at the same time, your ANS might be already yanking your hand back even before you fully register the pain.
it's like a two-person safety crew working in perfect sync to protect you.
Exactly.
This is already blowing my mind and we're just getting started. Okay, so if the ANS is sending all these messages throughout the body, how does it actually work? What's the communication system?
Great question. The textbook uses a really helpful analogy. Think of it like an airline hub. You have your initial message that's carried by a preganglionic neuron. It comes from the brain or spinal cord, kind of like a flight taking off from its origin city.
Okay, so the preganglionic neuron is like the first leg of the trip,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it doesn't fly directly to the final destination, right?
Right. It's got a layover at what we call an autonomic ganglion. It's like a busy airport hub
Hmm.
where a bunch of these preganglionic neurons come together and messages get transferred.
Ah, so it's like a relay race.
Exactly.
The preganglionic neuron brings the message to the hub, and then another neuron takes it from there.
You got it. And those new neurons are called postganglionic neurons. They're like those connecting flights leaving the hub, carrying the final message to wherever it needs to go, a muscle that needs to move, a gland, really any part of the body that needs to respond.
So it's like our bodies have their own little airport control towers directing all this internal traffic.
Yeah.
But who decides which messages get priority? That's where these two divisions come in, right? The parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems.
Exactly. These are the two main branches of the ANS. And they're always working, but in kind of opposite ways. Think of them like um, two sides of a coin. You need both for things to work right.
Okay, so what's the difference between them?
Well, your parasympathetic division, that's your rest and digest mode. It's all about keeping things calm and balanced, lowering your heart rate, helping you digest your food, that kind of thing.
So like after a big meal, when you just feel like chilling out, that's the parasympathetic system in action.
Exactly. It's like your body's way of saying, all right, time to relax and let me take care of everything.
Makes sense. And then there's the sympathetic division, which I'm guessing is not so much about relaxing.
Right. Think fight or flight. This is your body's emergency response system. When you're stressed or in danger, this is what kicks in, getting you ready to either face the threat or run like crazy.
So that sudden jolt of adrenaline you get when something scares you, that's the sympathetic division.
Exactly. Your heart starts pounding, your breathing gets faster, you become super alert. It's your body's way of giving you the best possible chance of survival.
Wow, that's amazing. So if these two divisions are basically opposites, where do they hang out in the body?
Well, they actually have different headquarters, so to speak. Imagine your spinal cord. Up at the top and way down at the bottom, that's where you'll find most of the parasympathetic nerves. The sympathetic nerves are more concentrated in the middle section of your spinal cord.
Huh, interesting. So they've got their own designated areas,
Mhm.
but they must interact somehow, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's where things get really interesting. You see, most organs in your body actually receive input from both the sympathetic and parasympathetic divisions.
Wait, so they're both sending messages at the same time, even though they often have opposing effects.
Exactly. It's like a constant balancing act. The textbook gives a really clear example with our pupils. Your sympathetic division wants to dilate your pupils. That means making them bigger so more light gets in, while the parasympathetic division wants to constrict them, make them smaller.
So it's like this constant push and pull happening inside our eyes.
Exactly. It's this ongoing dance between the two systems, constantly adjusting to find that sweet spot based on what you need in any given moment.
Wow, I never knew so much was going on in my eyes. What about other organs, though? Does that happen everywhere?
It does in a lot of places. Take your heart, for example. The sympathetic division speeds up your heart rate, and the parasympathetic division slows it down.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about something like digestion? I know when I'm super stressed, my stomach completely shuts down. Is that the sympathetic division at work again?
You got it. It's like your body's saying, listen, we've got bigger problems to deal with right now. No time to digest food. It redirects blood flow away from your digestive system and toward your muscles and lungs, priming you for action.
Wow, it's really incredible how our bodies can just shift gears like that without us even realizing it. But doesn't that constant state of fight or flight take a toll? Like if your sympathetic system is always activated.
Exactly. That's where problems can arise. You see, short bursts of stress, that's normal, even beneficial in some cases. But when that stress becomes chronic, when your sympathetic division is stuck in overdrive, that's when you start to see the negative consequences.
So we've talked about how the ANS reacts to stress and danger, but this textbook also mentions reflexes, and it seems like that's a whole other side to this whole system.
Yeah, reflexes are a perfect example of how the ANS is always working in the background, keeping things running smoothly without us even having to think about it.
Okay, so like the example they give is about needing to use the bathroom. Sometimes you feel that urge, but then it disappears for a while. What's going on there?
That's your body demonstrating the micturition reflex. It's basically the autonomic control of your bladder. It's pretty cool when you break it down.
Okay, so walk me through it. How does it work?
So as your bladder fills up, it reaches a certain point, and sensors send a message, like a little alarm, up your spinal cord to your brain.
And that's when we get that signal to go find a bathroom.
Right, right. But sometimes we can't just drop everything and go right away. Maybe we're in a meeting or stuck in traffic.
In there.
So in those cases, your ANS actually steps in and kind of overrides that urge just temporarily to give you more time.
Wait, seriously. Our bodies can do that.
Yeah, that's the micturition reflex at work. It can actually tell those bladder muscles to relax a bit, which reduces that urgent feeling. And then when you're finally able to go, the reflex switches back, the muscles contract, and, well, you know what happens next.
Wow, I never realized how much was going on behind the scenes with something as basic as, peeing.
Right. It just shows how complex and finely tuned the ANS is. And it all comes back to this idea of homeostasis that we touched on earlier. It's all about maintaining that balanced state inside your body, no matter what's going on outside.
So it's not just about reacting to big, immediate stuff like stress. It's also about these constant little adjustments to keep everything running smoothly.
Precisely. Like, think about how your breathing changes when you exercise, or how your pupils adjust to different light conditions. That's your ANS making sure everything is working perfectly, even controlling your blood sugar levels to keep them steady. It's really amazing.
It's like having this whole team of specialists working behind the scenes to make sure our bodies are always running at their best. So we've talked about the different parts of the ANS, but is there like a main control center for all of this?
Ah, that would be the hypothalamus.
Hypothalamus. Wasn't that mentioned way back at the beginning?
Yep. It's a small part of your brain, but it has a huge job, basically. It's in charge of regulating so many of the functions we've been talking about: temperature, hunger, thirst, sleep cycles, and a big part of the ANS, too.
So it's like getting constant updates from all over the body and then sending out instructions.
Exactly. It's like the ultimate command center in your brain. It even keeps tabs on things like your blood pressure and hormone levels. It's always working.
That's a lot of responsibility for one little part of the brain. But if it's so busy managing all these automatic functions, can our thoughts or feelings even affect it? Or is it all just hardwired?
That's a great question, and it's something that scientists are still trying to fully understand. But research is showing that there's a much stronger connection between our minds and bodies than we used to think.
You mean it's not all just pre-programmed? Our thoughts can actually influence our ANS.
It seems that way. For example, even just thinking about a stressful situation can trigger some of the same physical responses as actually being stressed.
Whoa, seriously. Just thinking about giving a presentation could make my heart race, even if I'm just relaxing at home.
Yep, your mind is that powerful. And on the flip side, things like meditation and deep breathing, which are all about calming your mind, can actually shift the balance of your ANS towards a more relaxed state.
It's amazing that we have this power to tap into this system that we thought was totally automatic. Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into the ANS. It's amazing to think that all of this is happening inside of us all the time without us even realizing it.
It really is. It just makes you appreciate how incredible the human body is, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So next time you notice your heart racing or you feel that sense of calm washing over you, take a moment to appreciate your amazing autonomic nervous system, working hard to keep you alive and thriving. Until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive.